Picture this. You're Larry Bird, a three-time NBA champion, three-time league MVP, trash talk savant, and walking embodiment of basketball IQ. You settle into your chair, flip on a WNBA game for some Sunday scouting, and watch Marina Mabrey flatten Caitlin Clark. 23-year-old phenom, new face of the league, while Clark's still wiping an eye poke.
Oh, and Marina Mabrey's going to get ejected. Marina Mabrey kind of blindsided Clark.
In that split-second, Bird's blood pressure spikes, the way it once did when Bill Laimbeer tried to rearrange his ribs in the 80s. Only this time, the hit looks different. Cheap. Needless. Almost predatory. And Bird, never one for polite silence, decides to unload.
Caitlin Clark finally stood up for herself. No more staying quiet. Seeing her shut down Angel Reese was just the start. Now it's her turn to go at the other woke players who thought she wouldn't fight back.
Why does one shove matter? Because Caitlin Clark isn't just any rookie. She's the gravity well pulling television eyeballs, sponsorship dollars, and a whole generation of young hoopers toward the W. Injure her now, and the league's growth curve nosedives. Larry Bird understands that domino effect better than most. 40 years ago, the NBA was one superstar injury away from dipping back into televised obscurity. Bird didn't let that happen then, and he refuses to watch it happen to women's basketball now. His fury isn't casual commentary. It's a full-on alarm bell for everyone in the sport. Bird saw the danger in real time. Clark, half-blinded, gently retreating, when Mabrey explodes into her from behind. No forearm up front, no one-on-one stare-down. Just a shove aimed at opportunity, not competition. Bird later told a friend, "That's the most cowardly thing I've seen on a court in decades." Remember, this is a guy who survived the bad boy Pistons, who traded blows with Dr. J, who laughed at Kevin McHale clotheslining Kurt Rambis. If Larry Legend calls something cowardly, it's not hyperbole. It's a red flag that the play crossed the unwritten line between hard-nosed and dirty. In 1981, Bird was Clark. Young, lethal, and targeted. Opponents grabbed, hacked, hammered him because they couldn't solve the pick-and-pop math he invented on the fly. But Bird-era cheap shots had a code. You hit from the front, you heard about it immediately, and you often paid a price that same night. What Bird sees in 2025 feels cheaper. Off-ball blindsides, technicalities, plausible deniability. We used to test greatness, he mused, not ambush it. That nuance is everything. Testing greatness pushes the sport forward. Ambushing it corrodes the very product fans tune in to see. Then came Mabrey's press scrum. Microphones swarm, and she shrugs. Damned if I do, damned if I don't. Bird nearly spit out his coffee. Accountability? Zero. Empathy? Missing. It sounded less like competitive bravado and more like deflection, the verbal equivalent of the blindside shove. Bird's instant reaction? Legends own their mistakes. They don't blame the spotlight for getting burned. In his eyes, Mabrey wasn't just guilty of a flagrant foul. She was guilty of refusing to read the room, the replay, or the ripple effect her actions would create for a league fighting to be taken seriously. Bird's harshest indictment wasn't the shove, it was what the shove revealed. When talent gaps grow, insecure players pick shortcuts.
Can we get Caitlin Clark a little protection out?
Bird claimed Mabrey's hit exposed a fear of being outskilled by Clark's range, vision, and creativity. If you can't match her jumper, Bird quipped, match her work ethic. Don't match her skull to the floor. In legend speak, that's a dare. Either evolve or step aside. And for every young baller watching, Bird is drawing a line. Your legacy will hinge on whether you study greatness or cheap shot it when the refs glance away.
Anybody that does something flagrant to this young lady for what she's brought to the game should be suspended and fined big time.
Bird's rant wasn't just about protecting Clark. It was about safeguarding the WNBA's integrity. Youth coaches cue up game tape of Caitlin Clark to teach spacing, pace, and audacity. What happens when that tape suddenly features unpunished elbows and spine-first shoves? Bird fears kids will absorb the wrong lesson. Violence equals viability. He's old school enough to believe basketball should be punishing, but principled. Strip away that principle and you lose the soul of the sport. A sport, by the way, that Larry Bird still reveres as poetry in parquet motion.
There. Oh boy. Sheldon and Cunningham are getting into it. These two teams do not like each other.
So, what does Bird want? Swift justice. Stiffer fines, suspensions that sting, not because he's anti-physicality, but because he's pro-superstar. He's watched leagues crumble when marquee names exit early with chronic injuries inflicted by enforcers who can't otherwise stay roster relevant. Bird challenges the W. Choose spotlight over slap fight. Choose skill over spectacle. He argues that transparency and consistent discipline are non-negotiable if the WNBA hopes to convert Clark's gravitational pull into long-term market share. Anything less sends a neon sign to grinders that bullying beats betterment.
Interestingly, Bird believes Clark will thrive anyway. Pressure cooks champions, he told a reporter. The endless cheap shots will toughen her exterior and sharpen her court awareness, learning to sense danger the way rookies sense double teams. Bird sees her forging a mental armor that mirrors his own Baltic cold front. Every bruise becomes a bookmark in her future Hall of Fame speech. The risk, though, isn't Clark's resiliency. It's whether the league can keep audiences invested while waiting for that payoff. Audiences who might tap out if the star attraction spends more minutes on the hardwood than launching from it.
Let's pause on media. Bird didn't endure 24-hour digital outrage cycles or social media slow-mos dissecting every forearm. Clark does. Every clip goes viral, every shove spawns a million hot takes. Add endorsements, documentary crews, TikTok recaps, pressure multiplies. Bird empathizes. The physical toll of his era plus the mental avalanche of this one could break lesser athletes. Clark, he insists, is wired differently, built to channel noise into fuel. Still, Bird argues, the league's guardians must recognize that the line between compelling friction and career-altering assault is now drawn under stadium-sized spotlights.
Bird's critique expands beyond league offices. He sounds a clarion call to the players' union. Protect your stars or risk shrinking paychecks down the road. The W's revenue pie grows when icons stay healthy. Rivalries stay respectful, and highlight reels feature crossovers, not collisions. Bird reminds veterans that a single malicious hit can sabotage collective bargaining leverage faster than a missed TV deal. In short, internal policing isn't optional. It's existential. When legends speak economics, people listen, because Bird's banked plenty of playoff bonuses on solid business logic.
Underneath Bird's words lies a cultural battle, old-school toughness versus sportsmanship evolution. Some fans praise Mabrey for not backing down, citing a mythical code of hard fouls preventing stars from showboating. Bird dismantles that narrative. Toughness equals competing, not clobbering. Competing means you chase Clark around picks, study her tendencies, maybe even spit out a quip to rattle her focus, but you don't endanger her livelihood. That's not toughness, that's desperation. Bird wants a league where effort replaces elbows, where the highlight package celebrates skill mastery rather than medical updates.
If Mabrey's shove skates by unpunished, Bird fears a copycat epidemic. Second-tier scorers will realize that rattling Clark might earn them a SportsCenter slot, some online fame, and a few extra minutes of playing time. Suddenly, every game becomes a demolition derby. The product devalues, sponsors wince, and the Caitlyn effect dissipates before reaching its commercial crescendo. Bird's vision? Nip it now. Set the precedent, and future defenders will adjust by raising their skill ceiling, not their forearms. Here's the twist. Bird believes Marina Mabrey still has time to pivot. Use the scrutiny, he advises. She could study film, refine footwork, aim to stop Clark legally and loudly in their next matchup. Imagine the narrative flip, from villain to relentless defender who forces Clark into a 6-for-23 night without a single cheap foul. That arc sells tickets too, and teaches every youth league guard that growth trumps grievance. Bird's wisdom, brutally delivered, doubles as a roadmap for redemption if Mabrey's willing to follow it.
Close your eyes and visualize it.
2 tunnels beneath the arena. One is well lit, plastered with posters of Jordan Canada blocks, Swin Cash steals, and Bird's chest-to-chest dust-ups. Physical, yes, but face-to-face and rule-respecting. The other tunnel is dim, littered with headlines of torn ACLs and empty seats. The WNBA stands where those tunnels diverge. Which path do they paint, promote, and penalize into permanence? Bird's message blasts through PR filters. The fork is real, the clock is ticking, and everyone, from referees to rookies, must choose a tunnel before the lights come back on.
So now the question ricochets to you. Does Larry Bird have it right? Did Marina Mabrey cross a sacred boundary?
Or is this just playoff-grade intensity misread through highlight snippets? More importantly, will the W listen, setting guardrails that protect its brightest flame, or shrug until the next shove sparks a crisis the league can't PR spin away? Drop your take in the comments. We read every word.
And if you crave basketball breakdowns that slice through the noise and spotlight what truly shifts the sport, hit subscribe and punch that notification bell like Laimbeer fouling out in '88. The story isn't over. Bird's warning shot is airborne. Where it lands depends on what the WNBA does next, and we'll be right here, courtside, calling every moment of impact.